You know, when most people compare crypto and traditional money, they almost always focus on the wrong things. They get caught up in prices, volatility, but that's kind of like comparing a car to a boat by looking at their paint jobs. To really get what makes them different, you have to look under the hood at the actual engines that power each system.
And that right there is the core idea for our entire analysis today. This isn't really about one digital coin versus another. It's a fundamental showdown between two completely different models for trust and control. One is built on human institutions, and the other is built on verifiable software code.
So let's start with that first system, the one built on institutions. To really appreciate just how different the software-based approach is, we first have to get crystal clear on how the traditional system, the one we use every single day, actually works.
Okay, so fiat money. Think of the US dollar, the euro, any major currency. It has value for one main reason. A government declares that it does, and we all trust the system enough to go along with it. Its power isn't backed by gold or anything physical anymore. It's backed by this complex web of institutions. Laws, banks, central banks, courts, the whole shebang. In short, it's a system that runs on institutional trust.
So to compare these two systems in a way that actually makes sense, we need a consistent framework. We're going to use the 4 classic functions of money as our guide. This is going to let us see where the systems are similar, but more importantly, where they really truly diverge.
Think of these as the 4 main jobs that we hire money to do. First, we need it to buy stuff. Second, we need it to hold our wealth for the future. Third, we need it to measure the value of everything, from a cup of coffee to a car. And fourth, and this is the big one, we need a way to determine who's actually in charge of the whole process. So let's break down how each system tackles these jobs, one by one.
All right, let's put these two systems side by side and see how they really stack up. We'll kick things off with the most basic job of money, just using it to pay for things.
When it comes to just being a medium of exchange, well, fiat is the undisputed champ. It's accepted pretty much everywhere. Crypto? Not so much. We all know that. But the real difference here isn't about acceptance. It's about how payments are authorized. Digital fiat payments, your credit card, your bank transfer, they always require a middleman, a bank, a payment network. Crypto, on the other hand, was built from the ground up for direct peer-to-peer settlement on a public network. No middleman required. Okay, next up, storing value. Fiat is designed for short-term stability, but its supply can be increased or decreased based on policy decisions, which can, lead to inflation. Think of it like a faucet that a committee of people can turn on or off whenever they see fit. A lot of cryptocurrencies are volatile, sure, but something like Bitcoin offers a totally different approach. Its scarcity is literally hard-coded into the software. It's like a faucet that's programmed to drip at a fixed, predictable rate, and no one on Earth can change that schedule. And that's the key difference: policy-driven scarcity versus rule-driven scarcity. The third job is being the unit of account, basically the measuring stick for all economic value. And on this one, fiat is completely dominant. We price goods in dollars, our salaries are in yen, we pay taxes in euros. Even when people do use crypto, they almost always mentally convert the value back to their local currency, right? You think, oh, this is worth X number of dollars. For now, fiat is just the universal language of value. And now we get to the most important function of all, the one that truly, fundamentally separates these two systems, and that is control and settlement. This is where we see the most profound differences in how they're designed. So let's ask what is probably the most important question to understand any financial system. Who has the ultimate authority to say yes or no to a transaction? The answer to that question tells you everything you need to know about where the power really is.
In the fiat world, control is completely top-down. It's issued by a central authority, regulated by governments. Digital transactions depend on a whole chain of intermediaries: banks, credit card companies, you name it. Now, this has its perks, like being able to reverse fraudulent charges, but it also means there are gatekeepers who can ultimately decide if your transaction is allowed to go through or not.
Crypto just flips this whole model on its head. It runs on a distributed network where transactions are validated by something called a consensus mechanism, which is really just a fancy way of saying there's a set of rules in the code that everyone on the network has to follow. This is the very essence of that shift from trusting institutions to trusting software. But the trade-off is huge. It gets rid of those powerful intermediaries, but it also puts all of the responsibility directly on you. There's no 1-800 number to call if you send your money to the wrong address.
So we've figured out who controls the money, but that leads to another really important question. Where does all this money come from in the first place? The way each system creates new money reveals another absolutely fundamental difference in their design.
The modern fiat system runs on what's called fractional reserve banking. And here's how it works. When a commercial bank issues a loan, it simultaneously creates a brand new deposit in the borrower's account. That act of lending is, effectively, the creation of new money out of thin air. It's an engine that runs on credit.
So here's the key takeaway from that. The fiat money supply is elastic. It's like a balloon that can expand when the economy needs more credit and contract when it needs less. Bitcoin, on the other hand, has an inelastic supply. Its issuance schedule is fixed in the code and it cannot be changed. It's more like a block of granite. It is what it is, and it's not going to change no matter what's happening in the broader economy. These are two completely different monetary engines.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Let's try to pull all of this together into a clear framework you can use to think about these systems, one that helps you move beyond all the daily noise and headlines.
You can really think about this in layers. At a beginner level, the main difference is just governments and institutions versus a network that runs on software rules. At an intermediate level, you start to see the practical difference. Settlement that needs intermediaries versus direct peer-to-peer settlement. And then at the advanced level, you get the deep economic difference. An elastic, credit-based money system versus an inelastic, rule-based one.
So here is your practical takeaway. The next time you hear someone comparing crypto and fiat, run it through this checklist. Ask these power questions. Which of the 4 jobs of money are we actually talking about right now? Who gets the final say on authorizing a transaction? Can it be reversed? Who's in charge of the supply? Who has the power to freeze, censor, or block a payment? These questions will cut right through the hype and get you straight to what actually matters.
And this brings us to our final and maybe the most productive question of all. Instead of asking which system is going to win, a much more useful question is this: what are the unique problems that each system is actually designed to solve? An elastic, institutionally managed system and an inelastic, rule-based system simply have different strengths and different weaknesses. They're different tools for different jobs. And understanding that is the real key to clear analysis.